Podcast Network Asia.
What's going on? This is Xavier Woods, a.k.a. Austin Creed.
Welcome to the big time!
Hello, WWE Universe in the Philippines. This is Charlotte.
You know your damn role and shut your damn mouth.
Hey everyone, this is Jeff Cobb.
I have to finish the story.
We are pretty deadly. Yes, boy. Yes, boy.
Hello, my name is Ilya Dragunov, the Czar.
Bang! The sniper is shooting you down. This is TMDK's Robbie Eagles, and you are listening to the Wrestling Podcast.
You're watching and listening to the longest-running weekly episodic Filipino wrestling podcast. This is the Wrestling Podcast. Stan C, Emile ASH, and Chino Liao all checking in on a Thursday live stream. Rowan was supposed to be here, but he called in sick. Ro was supposed to be here, but work happened and he couldn't get out of his work event. So you're stuck with the three of us for the next hour and change. Pero as always, marami pa rin tayo pag-uusapan. Thank you to everybody for joining us tonight, by the way. I know that today was particularly hot in the worst way. Tapos nagkalindol pa. So I hope that everybody's just keeping it together. Nakaabot ba yung lindol dyan sa Naga, Emile?
No, malayo, sobrang malayo siya, so I didn't even feel it.
Okay, that's good. Ikaw, Chino, naramdaman mo ba?
Honestly, no. No. Like,
all right.
Kung sinabi naman ng lindol, yeah, doon ko lang nalaman, but no.
Yeah, because I felt it, a bunch of other people felt it, and as soon as I felt it, I saw it now on Twitter. Lindol, earthquake, and all that stuff. But the good old MDR, MMC, or whatever they're called, didn't even send an alert. So, yeah. Thanks, guys. Sobrang helpful. Sobrang helpful nitong service na to. Anyway, let's say hi to Martin.
MMC,
Yun, the NDR
yeah.
MMC. Yeah, that's the one. Who cares? They didn't get it right today. Saying what's up to Martin, who's joining us in the chat. Thank you so much for making time for us, Martin. Hope to see you this Sunday at MWF Action Novelas Gigil at Romansa.
Bruce is there. Yeah, Bruce just checked in. He actually forgot it was Thursday. We were worried, Bruce.
Kala namin paano ka. Good to know that you're kicking.
Okay ka, Bruce. Takot kami.
Good to know that Bruce Lim is alive and kicking.
Yeah.
It's always a good day when we know that our friends are still with us, right? All right, let's get to some plugs before we talk about the week in wrestling. As always, we had a watch party over the weekend, over the last couple of weekends, actually, because of the pay-per-view / premium live events na ginaganap. And these are part of the benefits that you get if you join our Wrestling Podcast Patreon community.
All right, so again, we just had the watch party for Money in the Bank a couple of weeks ago for Forbidden Door. So if you want to get in on that for future watch parties and to enjoy the other benefits of subscribing to our Patreon, all you got to do is subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/Wrestling Podcast, and you can subscribe for as low as $5 or 280 pesos, local currency. You can join in on our Discord community when you subscribe. We have the watch parties there. And you can also interact with your fellow podcasts and talk to us about everything and anything you like. Of course, wrestling, sports, fashion, memes, everything and anything. So you could chat with us about that on our Discord. Also, we have our pasabays. So if you want to get in on that and get your authentic wrestling merch, you could get it through us. And you can also enjoy the review content of the weekly wrestling shows like Raw, SmackDown, NXT, Dynamite, Collision, and some local wrestling events as well, courtesy of Rowan ASH. And by subscribing to our Patreon, you're supporting everything that we do here on the podcast. So again, please subscribe to our Patreon at patreon.com/Wrestling Podcast.
Thank you very much, Emile. We've also got another event happening in exactly a month. That is August 6th, Sunday morning. And that is our viewing party for SummerSlam. So that's going to be at Skinny Mike's BGC in cooperation with our friends from Geek Talk PH, Cinegalactic Shark, Legend Dennis, the rest of the crew. They're going to be there. We hope to see you there for a SummerSlam viewing party. Historically, they haven't really pulled in as big of a crowd as yung WrestleMania or the Rumble, but we'd like to change that. And we can do that with your help, especially since pag mas marami kayong nag-commit, mas marami kayong bumili ng tickets once we start selling them, then mas maingganyo rin kami magpamigay ng prizes kasi yung sponsors natin, di ba? They'll start showing up when they know that you guys show up.
Tayo, eh.
Given na yun. That's part of the deal, right? So stick around for yung details. Please stay tuned to our social media kasi doon namin ipopost yung link for the tickets to the SummerSlam viewing party, again in cooperation with Geek Talk PH and our friends from Skinny Mike's BGC. Sunday morning yun. Wala kayong kaagaw sa parking. Wala rin sanang kaagaw sa traffic kasi who drives to BGC on a Sunday morning? Diba? You're on your way out of BGC on a Sunday morning, if you get my drift. All right, let's get to talking about Money in the Bank because we have so much to break down coming off of that premium live event from last Sunday. And let's start with the tribal chief, the head of our table, Roman Reigns, who took an L. And of all people, it was Jey Uso, very fitting, who actually pinned the tribal chief. So, tanong dito, guys, do you think Roman should have actually taken the pinfall loss before losing the undisputed WWE Universal Championship? Let's start with Emile. Let's get your thoughts out there.
Yes, absolutely. Actually predicted this na Jay will pin Roman dito sa Money in the Bank because for me, Jay pinning Roman was the next step in the bloodline story. Kasi it all goes back full circle when this really started with Roman tormenting Jay. So for me, yung natural course of everything leads to here, which is it's the other way around. Jey Uso pinning Roman. So whether Roman loses the title to Jey or not, it doesn't really matter. But what is important is, Jey has Roman at least got his comeuppance from Jey.
All right, ikaw, Chino, what do you think about Roman taking a visible pinfall loss here, especially with how big of a deal it became in the eyes of the people?
Yeah, it's very big and it is symbolic because it sets Roman up for vulnerability. We all thought that for the past 3 years or so, he was untouchable. He was the tribal chief, the head of the table, diba? And then all this happens and then he loses to his cousin, who he spent a better part of these 3 years bullying. So it's very symbolic because it shows that he can be beat. And if he can be beat, then that means that he's that much closer to dropping the title.
So we're headed towards SummerSlam and a lot of people are already predicting that it's Jey who's gonna challenge. And parang natural naman ito, diba? Natural progression of things. It's just kind of odd that let's say that Roman versus Jey is actually for the championship. This will be Roman's first title defense since WrestleMania.
Yeah, it's been how many months now? It's like 3 months, 4 months since WrestleMania come August. So
yeah,
sobrang tagal na, no?
Yeah, the biggest complaint online is that Roman is starting to look like Brock here in that he hasn't defended the title as often as, say, like a workhorse champion like Seth Rollins, who defended it on NXT, diba? So, nakikita ko yung point ng mga tao, but then at the same time, I also understand that from a promotion standpoint, like what MJF is saying, he wants to turn Roman wants to be the draw, diba? They want to make him a star attraction, diba? And therefore making him defend in as little time as possible or as little times as possible makes each and every title defense special, diba? Whereas with somebody like Seth Rollins, yes, maganda yung match, but sometimes it's almost Roman Reigns defending as little as he does as it is. Parang each match, it makes it more must-see. Kasi lalo na coming off of this event where he lost via pinfall, mas magbe-build yung doubt sa utak ng mga tao and mas kakampis na kay Jey Uso because it's that much more believable now that he might drop it. I mean, it might not happen, but it's still that much more believable.
Yeah, maganda tong point na ni-raise mo, Chino, na there's kita mo talaga yung difference between Roman, who only defends every once in a while, like Brock Lesnar used to do, versus si Seth, na halos every week merong title defense. So babalik ko yung tanong sa inyo. I'll start with Emile. Ano mas gusto mo? Yung championship defense like every week or every other week tulad ni Seth, or yung sobrang once in a while lang na tulad nga ni Roman na he hasn't defended since WrestleMania nung April?
Honestly, I prefer the second option. Kaya nga, it's good that we have another world championship. Yun yung workers championship, the one that gets defended every week. But a star like Roman, like may point din si Chino, a star like Roman, pag yung matches niya sobrang like rarely, it becomes more must see. The more people will watch the thing kasi he only defends the title very rarely. So I'd go with the second one.
Ikaw, Chino.
I will go with what we have right now, which is Roman defending as less and less. Kasi when you say, I'm an old school wrestling fan, so when you say workhorse title to me, ang una kong iniisip was the IC title or the US title, because that's what they use to reward your hard work, diba? They see if you're ready for the big stage and they put you in these quote-unquote work rate matches. Not that I'm a wrestler so I can use the term, pero yun yung nangyayari, diba? And then if you're ready, that's when they prime you up for the big leagues, diba? That's where they put the big title on you. Now, that said, yung title defenses ni Roman, kahit sabihin mong once every 3 months lang, each and every single time, he's always been able to tell a story. You watch it, mahaba siya, and he weaves a tale in the 10 or so minutes that he wrestles in the ring, diba? So for me, that's a lot more special because you're watching a special event, a live TV moment happen after so many months of build-up. Whereas with Seth Rollins, it's not as special to me anymore. Yun nga, like I said, sometimes it's a little predictable. Yeah, the match will be good against Braun Breaker, but nobody expected Braun Breaker to win, diba? Kahit sabihin mong, Seth was wrestling injured. They're not gonna put the title on Braun Breaker, guys. Let's be real, diba? But with somebody like Roman Reigns, who has time to tell the stories, who makes every single moment special, yun yung mas gusto kong na-enjoy ko as a wrestling fan.
I want to go back on something na sinabi mo, Emile. Kasi sabi mo, ito, World Heavyweight Championship, a Workers' Championship, diba? It's weird kasi, it's just weird saying that out loud. Even though maraming nagsasabi nun online, diba? Whether it's on Twitter or sa mga articles. Kasi diba, to say Workers' Championship, parang nasa loob ka ng industry eh. But when you think about it, let's say you're in the story, diba? You're a wrestler trying to challenge for a championship. You want you don't care about workers' championships, but it's a world championship. You don't care kung designated siya for the workers only. Do you get what I'm trying to say here?
Yes,
Parang ang weird to say it from our perspective as a viewer if you're gonna put it naman through the lens of the characters who are all competing for the title.
But then at the same time, ang nagsabi naman yun, yung wrestler mismo eh, diba? Did Seth Rollins himself say that? That he wanted to be a fighting champion? So,
you're right. Seth
did
say that.
Yeah, so it's not totally uncalled for kasi he's involving us in the conversation.
I wouldn't say that it's uncalled for. More of naging part na siya ng wrestling discourse. Naging part na siya ng wrestling vocabulary. And I think that's what I kind of take an issue towards. Na parang, bakit natin ginagawang meta ito? Yung fact na it's the Workers' Championship. Di parang nagkakaroon tuloy siya ng label. Whereas, if it's a world championship, it's a world championship full stop.
Okay. Yeah, no, I can see why that might be a problem. But then at the same time, if you're really going to break it down, titles pa rin yan eh, diba? So like they're both supposed to be on equal footing, diba? And yet diba? Kasi parehas lang top titles for both brands. Yeah. Right? And yet there's this argument that's happening na mas special yung kay Roman Reigns over this Seth Rollins title that he's trying to make special. So bakit nangyayari yung conversation na yun? Diba? Is it because Roman Reigns has had the title longer? Is it because nobody believes Seth deserves the top title? Why is that? Diba? Parang kung i-break down
I think the problem is at some point na integrate sa wrestling dialogues or wrestling monologues yung workers championship na label when it's more of like an insider term. So I'm not gonna blame anyone specifically. It just happened over time, right? But now, so sige, let's assume, diba, na you have the workers championship label for the title Seth is holding. What happens when Cody finishes the story? Hindi siya worker because he's not holding the workers championship. You see how ridiculous it sounds?
No, but I don't think that's the I don't think that's a talk point that'll happen. If anything,
Of course not. I'm
hindi
saying that
nila-
because of the label, it's gonna sound that ridiculous.
Yeah, no, but at the same time, they're not building Cody as a worker, diba? They're focusing on the story of Cody Rhodes, diba? Of winning the title that his dad never got to win. So yeah, yung gusto nilang gawin with Cody. I don't know if where this whole Cody as a worker concept is coming from. Pero ako, ang nakikita kong argument dito is that if Cody Rhodes does win the title from Roman, if he does become the guy to do that, then hindi mo naman maiisip agad yun na parang, bakit yun yung hinabol ni Cody? Yun yung goal niya in the beginning, eh. Diba? That's what he challenged for in the first place. He didn't challenge for Seth's title. He didn't challenge for any other title. He challenged for Roman's title. And that's the title he wanted kasi at the time, that was the significant title in the company.
Yeah, absolutely. But the point naman for Cody is to go after the championship with a lineage that his dad was never a part of, not the one that Seth had just started in 2023. So I get that. Ang sinasabi ko lang is that it all goes back kasi to Emile having mentioned the label, right? Workers' Championship, which is why I caution everyone when you start using insider terms. Because once you start using insider terms, sometimes it starts to lead to yung mga logical leaps, diba? Like yun nga, or you call Seth's championship the Workers' Championship. So if Cody or Jey Uso or Sami Zayn wins it from Roman Reigns, edi hindi na sila worker. So I'm just trying to point out how illogical it is, which is why I caution against using these terms so willy-nilly and out in the open. Yun lang. Emile, sorry, I cut you off a few moments earlier. Was there a point that you wanted to get out?
No, I'd just like to say Roman's title reign is kind of in the middle of, appearing every week, defending every week, compared to what Brock did when he was the champion. Because when Brock was the champion, this is why people mas maraming complaints then when he was a champion, because he nagpapakita na talaga siya when he defends, when he's nearing or when he's defending the title. While as Roman, even though he doesn't defend the title very often, you would see him every week on TV. They would progress the storyline. He will always be on TV, or you will always have these matches now, even though non-title, but you'll still get to see the champion. So it's a perfect. He's the perfect balance for me. Yung what Roman is doing right now.
All right. To answer Bruce's question, no, the World Heavyweight Championship today has a brand new lineage in which Seth is the first and only champion. So it doesn't carry on yung lineage from the big old belt that Randy Orton or Edge, Cena, Bryan, Goldberg, Triple H have all held. All right, we've got more Money in the Bank Fallout coming your way in a bit. We'll talk about Finn, Mr. and Miss Money in the Bank, and LA Knight. But first, let's take a break and hear from our other podcasts right here on Podcast Network Asia. All right, let's talk about the World Heavyweight Championship, specifically the one guy who challenged Seth at Money in the Bank. That's Finn Balor. And I want to ask you guys what you thought of how he looked coming out of Money in the Bank. Kasi he lost basically because Damian Priest came out and was a distraction, but not for Seth, but for Finn. So, Chino, what do you think about how that went down?
Because it plays out on the Raw, diba? Like, Priest tries to cash in on his title.
He did it in Money in the Bank. He appeared.
Dito ba yun? Okay, sorry.
It happened both times. But yeah, he actually appeared
cash in,
at Money in the Bank.
Diba, he failed, basically. Hindi naman niya natuloy yung cash in niya, so it's fine. But it makes... Parang, I don't want to say it, but they might be setting up for a Judgment Day breakdown here. Diba? They might be turning Damian
I think
Priest.
That's pretty clear. We've been calling that for weeks on the show.
They might be turning Damian Priest into Batista, trying to... Because I don't want to see Judgment Day break up, especially after I saw that Abbey Road picture they took. I like Judgment Day. Diba? Like I like the group dynamic that they have. It's just that now they're trying to sow seeds of dissension within the foursome, trying to make Damian Priest a bigger deal so that when it does break down, siya yung lalabas on top, and then the three other guys in Judgment Day ma-relegate na sila ulit, diba? So I don't know, man. I love Finn Balor. Out of the four of them, siya yung pinakagusto ko. So it's hard for me to say na he looks like an ineffective leader at this point, like an ineffective top guy of Judgment Day. But that's how they're painting him to be.
Mm-hmm. I just want to point out na Chino said the Judgment Day is on its way to collapsing, while the Bloodline is also collapsing. So parang ano yun, yung top two heel factions mo sabay sila nag-i-implode, di ba?
Yun nga eh, di ba? So parang, ano yun, back to zero na ulit sila in terms of heels? Like, are we gonna have a period where there are just awkward heels now? Diba? Parang temporary alliances of heels. It's, I don't know, man. I don't want to go back to that. Sana hindi.
Sabi nga ni Lance, may Imperium pa.
Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
Yung ano pa, Damage Control pa. It's also in dissension as of this moment. So, yeah, all heel factions except Imperium are, breaking down. To answer the question of how Finn looked after Money in the Bank, for me, it's fine that he lost because the story here is not really Finn versus Seth. The story here is the dissension, the breaking up of the Judgment Day, and then they're now setting it up. And I'm just sad because initially when the current Judgment Day was formed, I thought Finn was going to be the single star. He's going to be the breakout single star of this group. But now, as time goes by here, the more that it looks that the more na si Damian Priest yung magiging breakout star dito sa Judgment Day, and I'm fine with it. It's just that Finn. I like Finn, and I want him also to be a main event or world champion. Pero as of this moment, I think they're picking Damian Priest more than Finn Balor.
Eto, pinoint out ni babyface producer Jasper from behind the scenes. Finn has been taking a lot of L's since WrestleMania. Do you guys think Finn is any less of a leader or any less of a threat since WrestleMania season?
In a way, yes. Kasi, he's supposed to be the leader, and yet he's the one who's always losing all these matches. Compared to the other group members like Rhea, who's having a successful title reign as the women's world champion. Then Damian Priest, who just won Money in the Bank. So nagmumukha siyang kawawa. Kasi siya, he doesn't win anything.
Yeah, if anything, kung ako si Damian Priest, I'm also gonna call that into question. Na parang, teka lang, bakit ka nag-angas-angas dito? Hindi ka naman nananalo, diba? So, if anything, that's what they're trying to build up to, diba? Or trying to do here. In the story.
Yeah, it's a great point here. Makes you it actually makes you think na yan ata yung magiging seeds for the feud, right, between Finn and Damian. And Damian Priest has actually won a huge match, Money in the Bank, and he can wave that in Finn Balor's face and say, "Now, what have you won lately?" So I guess there's your story, diba?
Yep, definitely.
Yeah, moving on. Since I mentioned Damian Priest here, let's talk about him as Money in the Bank. And yung corollary doon is LA Knight not winning Money in the Bank, as most of you wanted to see happen nung nag-predictions episode tayo last week. So, do you guys think that this was the right call? And if you're listening, feel free to chime in the comment section. If you're catching this on the audio-only version, let us know at Wrestling 2X Pod. What do you think of Damian Priest winning and not having LA Knight take down the Money in the Bank briefcase? Let's start with Emile.
As much as I wanted it, everybody wanted LA Knight to win. I also thought that Damian Priest was the right call. Kasi if you have been watching Raw lately or the last couple of months, they're really trying to push Damian Priest as the next main event star on Raw. So he was so tama lang yun. They went with the right guy. Pero at the same time, I also can't help to think that maybe they dropped the ball on LA Knight since he was the most popular guy dun sa match. But I think it's just starting for LA Knight. Like hindi pa dito natatapos yung lahat, and he's gonna get his well-deserved push down the line. But as of
If
right
he's
now,
not getting Money in the Bank, what is he getting? Because you have Seth, who looks like he's got a stranglehold on the world title, and you've got Roman Reigns, who's been Universal Champion for over 3 years.
He should
so
go after.
what's LA Knight getting?
He should go after. Honestly, he should go after the US title first. Yeah, for me. Go for him kasi he di pa siya nanalo ng titles eh. So, if they don't want to put him immediately in the world championship scene, just have him go for the mid-card titles. He's over din naman na yung kahit mid-card title, he's gonna still gonna be over with the crowd and over with the people.
Mm-hmm. Ikaw, Chino, what do you think about all of this?
Kasi ang nakikita ko dito, this is them being backstage people, yung mga officials, rewarding Damian Priest for putting in that work, from being able to carry big event matches, diba? Like Backlash, all the other matches that he's been a part of, yung rivalry nila ni Bad Bunny. He's done such a good job with those matches. And they rewarded him with this big match win versus LA Knight, who, yes, has been hot, but honestly has only been hot in the past few months, diba? So you have that, and in wrestling, yes, that's important, but you also have a quote-unquote workhorse in Damian Priest, who is proving himself capable for big event matches, diba? So ang sa akin, nagigets ko kung bakit nila binigay kay Damian Priest yung Money in the Bank, because it's them putting their faith on Damian Priest, rather, diba? Especially if he does go up against Seth Rollins, or if he does have to do this rivalry with Finn, who are both main event players, diba? So at the end of the day, yung LA Knights of the world might look like they are being short-handed, but they'll get their chance. They'll get their turn, diba? It's about sustainability in the long run, and I feel they made the right decision with Damian Priest.
Okay, so ikaw, Chino, what do you think LA Knight should get then? Kasi this guy's not a spring chicken. No offense to LA Knight, but he's 40 years old. So just realistically, limited yung window niya. So what do you do with him when he's this organically over?
Priest is also not getting any younger, as he's also
they're the same age, yeah.
Diba? He's also been wrestling for probably longer, kasi naabutan ko pa siya ROH back in the day. So I agree, they're both not getting any younger. But LA Knight still has the opportunity to go after a mid-card title like Stephanie Emile and babyface producer Jasper, future US champ. Why does he have to be a main event player right away? Why can't he just do the mid-card first? Diba? I'll buy him as a US champion. I want to see that rivalry against Austin Theory. Diba? Or maybe put him up against Gunther. Gunther, to talk it out on the mic. See how that turns out. Diba? There's a lot more opportunities for LA Knight here. Hindi porket natalo siya sa Money in the Bank, tapos na yung career niya.
Moving on here to Miss Money in the Bank, that being Io Sky. What a finish to that match. We talked about it nung audio-only episode na napaka-innovative nung pagkapanalo ni Io using the handcuffs on Becky Lynch and Bayley, and then stepping over Bayley, climbing over her to make it to the top and to grab the briefcase. Do you think this was the right call? Because everybody was predicting this last week.
Oh, yes, definitely. This was the right call. Because she is so ready to break out as a single star. You can see by the crowd reactions that even though she's a heel, people are really cheering her more each and every week. Like, let's look at Dung Backlash in her match against Bianca Belair. The roles were Io was a heel and Bianca was the babyface. But based on the crowd reactions that night, people were cheering Io more. So the crowd, the people is so ready for a main event singles babyface.
Teka lang, I'm going to cut you there, Emile, because Backlash was weird. We have to remember that them turning on Bianca and cheering Io on was one of those one-off double turns from the crowd. So I'm not going to buy Backlash just yet based on what you pointed out, because that's not a recurrent pattern. Yes, Io is getting cheered, she is popular, but I think that's also because openly dinedefy na siya ni Bailey eh. Or not defy, but like Bailey's openly antagonizing her.
Yeah, yun na. So, papunta na siya doon sa pagiging babyface, and the Money in the Bank briefcase was the right way to trigger that, the full-on babyface turn. Maybe a singles run as a babyface, because they really need one since Bianca, their plans of turning her heel, and sino pa ba yung top babyfaces on Raw at this time? Becky, aside from Becky, sino pa ba? So for me, Io, she's the next in line.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Like this might probably just be the simp in me, but I had Trish Stratus winning this match.
Wow.
Only because it would set up a Trish Becky Mania feud. SummerSlam feud, or whatever big show picture thing they have going down the line. Kasi, doon naman din papunta, diba? Si Becky challenged Zoe Stark to a match after, kasi of course, Trish can't wrestle now because she has a broken nose. Pero, yun yung nakikita kong panggago eh, like a wrench in this mechanic here. Kasi, yun yung way na masiset up nila yung big match feel na gusto nila mangyari for this Becky Trish Stratus feud that they have going on. That said, when Io Sky won, I wasn't disappointed. I'm also an Io Sky fan. I also want her to get hers. So yes, it was unexpected for me, but it's a welcome surprise.
So Io's on SmackDown, where Asuka is the the WWE Women's Champion. Yun, medyo nakakalito pa rin up to now. So Io and Asuka, if that's a feud, I'd love to see it. Ito nga si Leo is like hoping my English subtitles. Yes, well, maybe not live when it's happening, but I'm sure someone's gonna upload it on Twitter or on YouTube or on Threads na meron ng subs. So that's gonna be really good. But based on Raw this week, it's like pinaparinggan ni EOC Rhea that maybe Io would go back to Raw and go after the Women's World Championship. So I like this for Io Sky. I'm really excited, and let's see which title she goes after and when, because at this point, siya na yung second longest reigning Miss Money in the Bank, right? Because check the stats. 3 of the last 6 Money in the Bank winners of female match have cashed in at that show. And then you had Nikki ASH, who held on to it for a day. And then you had Carmella, who held onto it until the SmackDown after WrestleMania 34. And then there's Io. So that's a nice little fun fact right there.
Si Asuka pa, also for a day, because that's when
Becky announced that she was pregnant, right?
So also for a day.
Yeah, so women and the Money in the Bank briefcase, man, they don't really stay together very often. Speaking of women's feuds, we've got another one, a new one that started at Money in the Bank, and that's Shayna Baszler turning on Ronda Rousey out of nowhere, costing them the Women's Tag Team Championship. And now it seems like they're going to be feuding at SummerSlam. So first, let's pull the curtain back here and tell you that Ronda Rousey reportedly has a hard out date on her contract. And may mga nagsasabi na she could be out of WWE as soon as right after SummerSlam. Meron din mga reports na Ronda wants to give back to Shayna for getting her in the business, which is why this feud is happening now, where Shayna's feuding with Ronda. So Shayna chokes Ronda out at Money in the Bank. Nung Raw, Ronda demands an explanation, and Shayna Baszler comes out and starts talking about how narcissistic Ronda is and how Ronda doesn't really love the business. Shayna loves the business. Siya yung dahilan kung ba't nandito si Ronda Rousey. But it was Shayna who turned on Ronda. So now, a lot of people are asking, Emile, yourself included, sa group chat natin, who's supposed to be the good guy here? What do you think, guys? Because I can't answer this.
Yeah, how then? It's like, because I'm gonna jump in here because I have feelings about this. See, I know what they're trying to do. They're trying to make Shayna look like the heel and Ronda look like the face. That's what the WWE wants us to think. Kasi pinamukha nilang kawawa si Ronda Rousey, which never happens, guys. It never happens. Pero two nights in a row, inupakan siya ni Shayna Baszler. Diba? So it's a very rare sight to see. However, Shayna Baszler is also saying what's been on our minds for the past few months. We've had to put up with Ronda Rousey. Diba na she's entitled, she can't wrestle, she's been on TV for far too long, bakit siya nagja-jump ng line, and Shayna also puts herself over by saying that she's worked hard, that she put in the time to learn the business. Diba? So how are we supposed, as fans, how are we supposed to cheer against somebody like that who's speaking the truth? This isn't the first time that WWE's done something like this. Now, where they have a heel say what's been on the fans' minds, thinking na, oh, hindi nila magugustuhan to kasi tama tayo. No, that's exactly what we want, diba? They gave us what we want. So now, how can we boo Shayna Baszler in this scenario? Diba? Are they just gonna make Ronda Rousey look weak all throughout? Kasi pa hindi naman din yun believable given how dominant she's been in the WWE.
Yeah, same sentiments here. Kasi nung Money in the Bank, for me, it was clear that Ronda was the babyface. Kasi Shayna was the one who choked her out while in the middle of their match. And then I listened to the promo on Raw, and I can't help but to do a 180 and root for Shayna because I felt like she was justified in what she was saying.
Why was she justified, Emile?
Because like Chino, like what Chino said, what she said was basically what most of the fans were thinking as well regarding
just because
Ronda.
the fans are thinking a certain way and you agree with it doesn't make it correct, right? Like 16 million people thought it was okay to elect someone who likes to kill people. Does that make it correct?
No. Okay, namanila ako doon. Pero what I'm saying is, as you see the crowd's reaction to Shayna, so doon ako nagkaroon ng confusion. Because if you watch that promo in itself, you'd think that Shayna was the babyface and Ronda was the heel. So
right,
nandun na yung confusion ko as to who is really the babyface in this situation, or are they gonna pull an audible and do a double turn like they did with Becky and Charlotte years ago? So
yeah, they could, diba? While you guys were breaking down yung material ni Ronda and Shayna against each other, napaisip ako kasi you guys are right. The crowd did generally agree with what Shayna Baszler had to say. But the act of telling someone na dapat meron kang utang na loob sa akin kasi akong dahilan kung bakit nandyan ka, that's not an inherently good thing to do or say, diba? It's a very me, I deserve the credit type of deal. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the way I see it, if you're a good person or a good character, that's not something you would do or say.
Yeah, you have a point there.
yung point ni Bruce dito na fans seem to think that Ronda doesn't respect the business unlike Shayna does, and which Shayna herself tried to say, diba? Yun, feeling ko mas parang pwede pa. But like, we don't know what Ronda really is thinking, and the way that Ronda Rousey acts, you guys can correct me on this, but has she acted like she doesn't respect the wrestling business unlike Shayna based on how she acts in kayfabe?
That's interesting. I couldn't come up with an example with that.
Let's exercise
No. Honestly, I like this conversation, so I had to put my phone down. Kasi I get where you're coming from. Where how this isn't really as clear cut as it is, and it's nice, I guess, kasi napipilitan tayo pumili ng sides. But then at the same time, between the both of them, between Ronda Rousey and Shayna Baszler, who really has been putting the time in the business, diba? Who has been there since the get-go, putting in the work, diba? Not demanding, not acting like a brat. Ayaw niya magpapin kasi ayaw niya mag-tap out kasi she's a shooter. Gusto niya yung way lang niya, doesn't want to learn other ways. Has it always been like that for Shayna Baszler, or has it always been like that for Ronda Rousey? Again, yung mga sinasabi ko, it's all based off hearsay and online speculation, diba? But we've seen these reports before na yung main event nila sa Mania ended the way it did because Ronda didn't want to tap to disarm her. And Ronda is a notorious stiffer. to use a industry term, in the ring. Kaya na-injure si Alexa Bliss for as long as she was on the injured roster list. Diba? So there's a lot more against Ronda than for Ronda at this point. For us to make the assumption na teka lang, hindi to masyadong clear cut eh. It's actually a lot clearer than you think. A little murky, sure, but a lot clearer.
I'm gonna say that these are things, like yung mga inungkat ni Chino, these are things that are easy to remember kung diehard fan ka or kung internet fan ka. But we have to also remember na yung target audience ni WWE are the casual people, diba? Casual mainstream audiences who probably don't care about yung mga haka-haka online, probably don't have the investment level in wrestling to actually dig deep into all the rumors. So let's put ourselves in their shoes. Kung casual ka na, wala kang pake sa mga rumors, wala kang pake sa mga backstage goings on. Does that matter to them? Kasi now it comes across as Shayna sounding like she's kind of correct, pero si Ronda in-attack niya. So if I'm a casual, I wouldn't know who to root for here.
Yes, pero to say, yeah, you're correct. That it's very deep for me to refer to these things that happen online. But then at the same time, Shayna is the one bringing them into conversation. Diba? Yun yung sinabi niya. So, she didn't specify what these moments were, but she did say in passing na ganito nga yung nangyari sa career mo, diba? Hindi ka naman talaga wrestling fan or hindi ka naman talaga dedicated to the business like I am. She brought it up, diba? So kung invested ka sa storyline na to, mauungkat din talaga siya eh. It's not exclusive to what was just said on TV. People who were invested in the storyline, especially because it's very fresh and very new, will find out for themselves what these other details are that Shayna Baszler failed to mention.
Mm-hmm. I'm really excited to see where this is gonna go because we still have about a month before SummerSlam, and if this is going to be Ronda Rousey's send-off feud, send-off match, then I'm excited to see how Shayna and Ronda make this work because this is a match that people had were kind of hoping for once Shayna got called up to the main roster, and I guess we're getting it now, diba? Now or never, and they're finally pulling the trigger on this. So I hope we get a good one.
As a converted Shayna Baszler fan, I agree. If anything, she's gonna look so good in this na makakalimutan natin na naging vampire siya for like a month. Diba?
Wow.
If anything, ito yung result nun. So like I'm so happy for her. She deserves to be put over in such an organic way, a better way, shall I say. So sana ma-pull off nila ng maayos.
All right. More money in the bank fallout here. Logan Paul is going to be at SummerSlam, and the rumors are that he's going to be in a showcase match. And now I guess it's with Ricochet. We found that out over the last week. One, because of that supposedly viral spot, yung Spanish Fly, that probably didn't have as much of an impact as people would have wanted it to have. So, ang ginawa daw nila behind the scenes is that they filmed that footage of Logan Paul and Ricochet brawling after the match. Para yun yung gagawin nilang catalyst for this face-to-face on Raw, which will kick off the SummerSlam feud. So, Emile, is this something that would excite you to see Logan Paul and Ricochet go one-on-one?
Oh, yes, definitely. Kasi we have seen these two have these viral moments. Like, for example, in Royal Rumble, when they had that, when they collided in the air, and then yung Spanish Fly, and then the backstage brawl. So, this will guarantee to steal the show at SummerSlam. Pero ito, may tanong na ako sa inyo. I've been thinking about this earlier, no? Will you, because Logan Paul, wala pa siyang panalo, right? In his, wala pa siyang panalo, no? Wala pa siyang panalo since he started.
Beat The Miz at SummerSlam.
Yeah, so that was only one.
He's
only won one match in his matches in WWE. So, will you buy a Logan Paul win over Ricochet at SummerSlam? I want to ask you that.
Why not?
Honestly, ako yes. First of all, to answer Stan's earlier question, this does not excite me. Nothing about Logan Paul will ever excite me.
Wow.
However, if he does win against Ricochet, I'd buy it. You know, they have both of them are athletic and they have the ability to make this match look good. Will it top whatever feuds happening, whatever else feuds are happening in WWE? Honestly, no. But I mean, good for Ricochet, diba? Nakakuha siya ng viral moment. Magbungguan ulit sila in mid-air and then see what happens. I don't know, man. It's like, it's very hard for me to be invested in anything Paul related.
Yeah, just to answer Emile's question, I don't see why not. Like, okay, so what if Logan Paul has only won one match? He has one more win than Sting had in his WWE run. So who cares, right? This is not the place where wins and losses matter, as if you will. So Logan Paul is a threat. He's a physical threat. He's bigger than Ricochet. Oh, dun pa lang may chance na siya because he can go toe to toe with the athletic stuff, right? Last bit here from Money in the Bank before we go to break. Drew McIntyre is back, and he got a well-deserved moment at the O2, an arena he's performed in with and outside of WWE. Fun fact, I actually caught him at the O2 during his indie run in the main event of an ICW show in 2016. So it's great for me, at least as a Drew fan, to see this come full circle for him. And it looks like he's going to be the next challenger for Gunther's Intercontinental Championship. So clearly, di pa sila tapos dating back to their issues from WrestleMania. Chino, what do you think about this one?
Yeah, they've put Drew off TV for a long time.
Yeah, 3 months.
We all thought now he might be on his way out of the WWE, but I'm glad that they proved us wrong in such big fashion, such grand fashion. Kasi Drew, a hometown hero, so to speak, made his big return and put Gunther on his back. So, ang ganda lang din the moment for him. Whether or not he does succeed against Gunther, who has just been so dominant as a IC champion, it might be another story, though. I'm still on Team Gunther at this point.
Ikaw, Emile, do you think Drew can finish the story?
Honestly, I don't want Drew to beat Gunther just yet because I think it's way too early. It's way too early for Gunther to lose the title because I don't think he's gonna move on to the world title scene after if he loses the IC title now. So he's still gonna be the champion. But I'm just glad that he's back and healthy because there were times in the last year na lagi siyang na-injured and he's having health issues. So I'm glad all of that is gone and he's back for good. So I'm looking forward though to their possible match, maybe at SummerSlam, because it's gonna be a show stealer, because we have seen these two had the great showing at Mania, so they're gonna run it back again for SummerSlam.
Yeah, really excited for Drew McIntyre to be back. I have no idea if si Drew ba yung makakatalo kay Gunther for the Intercontinental Championship. So for you guys here, let us know in the comments or hit us up at Wrestling2XPod who you think will eventually defeat Gunther for that title. Kasi ganun din, he's like Roman Reigns light at this point. So let's see. All right, we'll take one. Sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, I mean, if you're gonna make that argument about Gunther, what about Austin Theory? Diba? He's also had that title for quite some time. Diba?
Yeah, just 220 days. Wala pa naman siya sa 1 year mark. Let's revisit Austin Theory when he hits 365.
Okay.
All right, we'll take that break. When we come back, we'll talk about some AEW and New Japan stuff. But first, another word from our other podcasts on Podcast Network Asia. All right, before we get to talking about some AEW stuff, may magandang tanong si Admin Angelo about Drew McIntyre. So, Drew's actually a Raw superstar. So, tama lang naman that Drew gets to challenge Gunther, who's also a Raw superstar for the Intercontinental Championship. All right? Walang pag-undermine ng WWE draft dito. Huwag tayong mag-assume. You know what they say when you assume? Emile, pakitapos nga.
He doesn't know. Make an ass out of you and me. That's what he meant. You make an ass out of you and me.
That's right. Buti pa si Chino. All right. Let's talk about some New Japan stuff here because
I have to finish the story.
And that's exactly what the Mad King did when he won the NJPW Strong Openweight Championship against Kenta during the Independence Day event yesterday. So Apparently, it's one of Eddie Kingston's wrestling dreams to win a championship at Korakuen Hall, and he got to do that when he took Kenta down with a back fist of the future and the Northern Lights bomb for the 3 count. Chino, what do you think about this? Since I know that you relatively follow the NJPW US stuff.
No, I'm a big Eddie Kingston fan. Um, that promo that he put up on Instagram, which I was able to catch, made me want to catch the show because that promo sends chills down spines. I mean, when he told Kenta that he had to fight against years, na feel ko yun eh. Diba? Because Eddie Kingston is not a young man. We're talking about wrestlers' age. He's a lot older than all the other wrestlers we mentioned. And he's still doing
Hindi naman,
it
kay dad lang niya
hardcore.
Priest tsaka LA Knight. Ano
Well,
ka ba?
fine. Pero,
He's not
diba,
50.
fine. But he's still pretty old. He gets me on. He's still pretty old. And he's been doing it for as long as they have. Probably a little less. But he's still getting up there. And when he talks about how much disappointment he's had to go through in his career, every time he's been put aside, stepped over, passed by another wrestler, na-feel mo yun eh. Diba? It's part of his struggle. And it's the struggle that makes Eddie Kingston such a cheerable character. Na parang kahit hindi siya babyface, kahit hindi siya yung face of the company, you still want to root for somebody like Eddie Kingston because he represents what the underdog is actually about. And when he faced Kenta, who has been dominant, doon mo na feel na si the emotions that I felt when he won, just I had to stand up and clap for him kasi yun ang ganda ng moment na yun for the Bad King.
Yeah, I also got to catch the promo that he did backstage after the match, and he was so emotional, and I felt myself being emotional as well. Because for me, he's really one of the most relatable characters in wrestling today. Kasi ano eh, ramdam mo yung struggles na, and he's always advocating mental health and things like that. So I'm glad that he won a title finally since a long time, or maybe this is his first major title in a major promotion. So
yeah, it's his
congrats.
first championship in 4 years.
Yeah, so congrats to Eddie Kingston, and it's great momentum as well for Eddie heading into his first G1 climax. Now he's a champion, so I'm really looking forward to seeing more of Eddie Kingston in Japan, especially he's going to be in the G1. So props to him and congrats to him.
Yeah, I'm happy that the Mad King actually got a championship in New Japan and not his home promotion. I mean, I'm not happy that didn't happen. It's I think we've talked about how we've wanted to see Eddie Kingston become TNT champion or some shit. Some years ago. So it's crazy that it's taken this long since Eddie Kingston has been launched into the national, international spotlight. But them's the breaks. Especially in this business where almost all of these companies are really stacked to the deck with, or they've stacked the deck with all of these championship level talent from top to bottom. So, ayun, I hope that he has a great run in the G1. I don't know what his chances are to winning the G1. I think you guys mas closely nagpo-follow ng New Japan can answer that better than I can. But this is a good thing here for Eddie Kingston and all of his fans. So it's definitely something worth celebrating as Eddie Kingston also celebrates this major milestone. We're going to close things off here with yung preview natin for the Owen Cup semis, which is happening over the weekend on Collision. That's Sunday, Manila time. Samoa Joe versus CM Punk. That's a match that we haven't seen in 19 years, I think. They had that rivalry, that trilogy in ROH where Punk never beat Samoa Joe. So what do you think about them running it back? Emile, I know you said last week na the potential of Punk and Joe being in a ring in 2023 excited you. Now we're actually getting it. We're 3 days away from it.
Yes, hindi ko naabutan yung trilogy nila, pero when I became a wrestling fan, that's like one of the first series of matches na talagang hinahanap ko online and talagang tinry ko download because it's so finding that match back then was so difficult. So now I'll get to see them in a wrestling match in 2023. That is an exciting thing for me. And I know hindi na sila tulad ng dati. I mean, they have medyo matanda na sila compared to their 2004 selves. But for me, it's still gonna be a great match. And for me, I think CM Punk wins here. Kasi, the story here is that Punk has never beaten Samoa Joe. So, so I think CM Punk will finish that side of his story and finally overcome Samoa Joe. So I'll go with CM Punk here.
I am also going to. No, actually, I'm going to go with Samoa Joe here, just because I want to root against Punk. It gets harder and harder to root for Chicago Phil.
I wonder
I'm
why.
sorry. Diba? Yeah, I wonder why too. You would know, right? So I don't know. Kasi si Joe has been putting in the work, man. He's been looking so dominant. And yes, the cards are stacked against CM Punk, which wrestling logic will show na mananalo si Punk. Secretly, like in my wrestling brain, I know that's what's going to happen anyway. But in my wrestling heart, I still don't want Punk to win.
All right. Very interesting that a lot of the Owen Cup matches are happening on Collision. Particularly for the men's side. Ito sa women's side, we saw we saw Ruby Soho defeat Britt Baker in the first round of the women's tournament, diba? So that's an interesting wrinkle. Not much to say actually about Dynamite coming off of yung episode kanina. Leo mentions yung shenanigans in MJF and Adam Cole. I thought that was pretty funny, but they're only beginning pa lang to tell the story. I think the way they're handling this is a bit funnier than how MVP and Matt Hardy did it back in the day. Kasi ito parang it's a more central storyline for one. MVP Matt Hardy, it was a mid-card storyline, admittedly, diba? But this is a world championship storyline under the guise of the blind eliminator tournament. Diba? The blind eliminator tournament is only the package for what is inherently the world championship storyline. So we're only getting chapter 1 or chapter 2. So enjoy muna natin to before we look back and like dissect what we feel about it all. Unless either of you have any thoughts na gusto niyo nang ilabas this week.
No, not really.
No, I'm just enjoying it kasi I know it's just nagsisimula pa lang yung storyline. It's already funny. Very cracking.
Diba? Ang gusto ko malaman if talagang binench ni na MJF and Adam Cole yun, yung all that weight. Kasi like, I think it was Adam Cole, hindi niya pinapa-touch sa chest yung bar eh. If Ro were here, he would have bitched about it. I'm pretty sure we would have heard a Ro rant about how hindi siya full
honestly,
push-up.
I don't even know if Adam Cole really does lift weight. So I'll be honest.
I made no such claim. Wala akong opinion dyan. Sinasabi ko lang yung observation ko is that the bar did not touch Adam Cole's chest. Yun lang. Let's talk about NXT right here on the audio-only part of this week's episode. Let's start with the Creed brothers, who surprisingly lost the Losers Leave NXT match against the Dyad. Now, if you've been following yung mga rumors, you might have read yung article saying that the Dyad might have been on their way out of WWE or they asked for their release or whatever. So when the Loser Leaves NXT stipulation was made, sabi ko, okay, what a convenient and slightly organic way to write the Dyad out of here. But instead, it's the Creed brothers who are gone. So this was a blindside for us. And obviously, the next step is for them to go to the main roster. Alangan namang magpakita sila sa level up, diba? But what do you want to see na mangyari sa kanila when they make it to the main roster? Because for me, I don't really care whether they go to Raw or SmackDown. I just want Ivy Nile to be there with them pa rin.
Yeah, same. I agree. Ivy Nile should be a part of that stable. Since sila na lang yung core talaga na naiwan. Diba? Like Malcolm Bivens is no longer with the WWE. And see also Rodney Strong and all the other guys who were a part of that stable, no longer part of it. So I agree that they should be called up together as a threesome. But where I would put them, I also cannot say. Siguro doon na lang sa show na mas kailangan ng tag team. So I'm going to say, is it Raw now that needs more tag
team? I think SmackDown. SmackDown
needs more tag team, so SmackDown needs more tag team.
Yeah, parang pantay lang actually. So I'm looking at the rosters right now. I think they both have the same amount of tag teams.
Oh, wow.
Weird
okay.
In the best way.
So okay, good for them then. Wala tayong shortage of tag teams for one of the rare times in wrestling history.
Yeah.
I also want to just see them treated properly. Hindi yung i-call up sila and then they become comedy wrestlers all of a sudden.
Yeah.
Not that there's anything wrong against that or with that, but at the same time, you're talking about two very accomplished amateur wrestlers. You'd think that they'll have more plans for somebody who fits that mold.
Yeah. For me naman, di ba may katag team si Ivy Nile before?
Yeah, Tatum Paxley. She turned on Ivy now. She's now like goth or emo. She's on her own.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay. So, but Diamond Mine, Creed Brothers, yeah, they will add depth to an already deep tag team division. So, them going to the main roster will only benefit the division. And they have really impressed me in their 3-year or 2-year run in NXT. So I think they should be fine in the main roster, wherever show they would be put on, whether it's SmackDown or Raw. But honestly, I also see some singles potential for Julius Creed, since we saw a little bit of that in NXT. So kung hindi man sila maging successful as a tag team, I also see some potential in both of them as single stars. So
you know where I see them now? Wherever sorry, just to jump in here. Sorry. I just thought of this right now. I see them as a counterpart to Alpha Academy.
Yeah.
Wherever Chad Gable is and Otis is, bagay sila doon because they have that same background. And remember, Chad Gable got his start in American Alpha, which unfortunately had a premature ending, diba?
Right,
So
right.
this is their way to retool that sort of, diba? Pasalihin nila American Alpha, call them or Alpha Academy, call them new recruits or something. That's a perfect way to introduce this trio.
Yeah, I just don't know how Ivy Nile will fit alongside Maxine Dupree. But I'm glad that we all agreed na parang incomplete if the Creed brothers go up and Ivy stays on NXT. Kasi, they were able to turn, chicken doo-doo into chicken salad with the members of Diamond Mine going in and out of the roster. Etong tatlo yung talagang pinaka natira, di ba? From the pinaka stable. So, kanina we mentioned which division or which tag team division would need them more. I'm looking at the list now of all the active tag teams in WWE. I want you to give me a number of how many tag teams you think there are. Combined, Raw and SmackDown. Give me a number.
Like 8.
Do a rough count.
8 ang sagot mo, Emile. Sige, ikaw, Chino.
Let's say 12.
All right, Chino's actually closer. There are 15 active
Okay,
tag teams.
damn,
right
all
now.
right.
That's a deep division right there.
Oh, let me enumerate them in case may magsabi na, hindi, pro WWE ka lang stand because they sign your paychecks. Right? So, you got the champs, Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. You got the New Day, Alpha Academy, Imperium, In the Share, the Viking Raiders, Angel and Humberto, Maximum Male Models. That's 8. That's just Raw. You go to SmackDown. You have the Usos, the Street Profits, LWO, the Brawling Brutes, the OC, Pretty Deadly, and Hit Row. That's 15.
Wow, that's a deep. I've never seen WWE have a deeper tag team division than it is.
Hindi pa kasama yung NXT dyan, di ba?
Yeah.
Yeah, wala pa. That's just main roster.
Yeah. Wow. All right.
That's why I also thought I know maybe this is not an NXT topic anymore, but split the tag belts again. Kasi sobrang daming tag teams on both shows. Now you could justify having 2 titles for the tag team division. Diba?
Hey, I don't think anyone's arguing with you there, Emile.
Yeah.
Right? We'll see. We'll see what happens with KO and Sami Zayn as we head towards SummerSlam. Maybe they'll do something to split up the tag team championships kasi 15 teams and only one team holding 2 sets of championships. You kind of do want to see some other team get some love in the form of gold. So let's see where the Creed brothers fit into all of this if and when they finally get their main roster call-up. So it's kind of weird to say this to the team that just lost, but congratulations to the Creed brothers, I guess. Right, moving on to one more big thing that happened on this week's 4th of July episode of NXT. We got NXT Underground. So Eddie Thorpe defeated, what's his name? Damon Kemp. And si Gable Steveson, very weird na hindi in-acknowledge yung real-life biological siblinghood nila. But, we got to simulate Raw Underground once again. And then, as a side note to that, Josh Barnett nagparamdam on Twitter and he called it fake blood sport. So let's break NXT Underground down first before we get into Josh Barnett's thoughts.
When I was watching, because honestly, nung Raw Underground, hindi ko siya pinapansin eh. Pero I just note, yun na nga, yung the Josh Barnett comments, I really thought that it's their answer to the Bloodsport. And they did it better in NXT than on Raw, honestly. Mas na-feel ko yung Bloodsport aspect niya on NXT rather than when they did it a couple years ago on Raw.
You guys are saying blood sport this, blood sport that. You forget NXT also did the fight pit.
Yeah.
If anything, that's also like blood sport. Probably, well, okay, probably not more. Like, kasi walang may ring yun. Diba? May cage yun. But it's also like shoot fighting. Diba? It's also knockouts and submissions. Diba? So, I don't know. Siguro Josh Barnett has the right to say na, ako yung nag-isip nito. Ako yung nauna nito because he's an actual shooter. But NXT Underground for me worked a lot better than Raw Underground because it wasn't as pretentious anymore. Hindi na siya underground gambling ring, diba? Hindi na siya nightclub. Tapos si Shane McMahon yung nagpapatakbo. Diba? It was an actual match. It had actual stakes. The execution was weird kasi hindi ko gets kung ging coach bigla si Gable Stevenson and his way to motivate fucking Eddie Thorpe was wave his gold medal in his face. Like,
tawa. Like, what is that gold medal gonna do?
Tama siya. Exactly. What the hell is the gold medal gonna do? Like, that's like, parang pinagyabang mo na, Olympian ako. Tumayo ko dyan kasi Olympian ako. Like, why? Why would I care? I'm getting my ass beat and then pinagyabang mo yung accomplishments mo, diba? But because of Eddie Thorpe's New Japan strong style background and because of si Damon Camp being a shooter, to me it was put together a lot better than any sort of Raw Underground product. Mas naging believable siya sa akin in this regard.
So let's get into Josh Barnett's thoughts here in case Emile may gusto kang idagdag because Chino already got his thoughts in. Na yun nga, si Josh Barnett took a shot at NXT Underground. Look, guys, I like Bloodsport. I liked NXT Underground. I think they're not mutually exclusive to one another. I, as a wrestling fan, can like both things.
Yeah.
So I don't need to be put in a position where, hindi, Bloodsport lang ako, puta na, ride or die. It's like, it's 2023. Can we stop doing this?
It's the equivalent of saying, yung ng AEW, WWE lang. Diba? Kasi gumaya lang yung isa. Like, it's the same thing. You're making the same argument. Do we really want to make that argument now? Parang hindi din siya. Go ahead, Emil.
Plus, in wrestling, every company adapts to what is new and what is trending. So, like with WWE with their war games, and AEW did the same thing with their own cage match.
Blood and Guts.
Blood and Guts. So, di naman na bago na companies are borrowing off ideas of each other. And as long as the execution is great, then it's great for the fans kasi they will have more companies to watch their favorite match types in. So, it's only beneficial for everyone.
Absolutely. The only time I think it's tolerable to shit on anyone is if anyone endangers their opponents or their coworkers and is being deliberately stupid and careless about it. Otherwise, there's no point in saying, we did it first or we did it better. It's like, okay, guys, come on.
Gable Stevenson, speaking of Gable Stevenson, what did you guys think of his that was his first appearance, right? The first time he stepped foot in a ring and did some moves. So what do you think of his development in terms of being an in-ring competitor based on what you saw post match?
Honestly, nothing surprising. Like, nag-suplex lang siya ng 5 tao. So, I'm gonna need to see a lot more than that, for me to get on the Gable Stevenson hype train here. But yeah, I mean, they did bring him out. Congrats to him. I guess na-relegate siya to NXT now because if I remember correctly, he's a Raw superstar.
That's right. Yeah, he did
get
drafted.
He got drafted to Raw, right? So for me it's a little surprising for me to see him there na parang they're trying to make us forget na draft namin tong number 1 draft pick na to.
Who cares? Von Wagner got drafted and he's still on NXT.
Oh, that's also true.
I mean, it's like an NBA team putting their young star sa G-League muna bago nila iakit sa main team. So parang ganun yun. Ganun yung vibes na nakuha ko with Gable Stevenson.
I liked his throws. I liked the air time or the hang time that the younger performance center talent got on his throws. So that was pretty cool. But ano lang to, patikim lang to. We don't know what else he can do. We don't know how effective he'll be as a character, as an all-around package. So I guess he's promising. But when the bar is Kurt Angle, it's a hell of a bar. Because Kurt Angle wasn't just a shooter. He wasn't just a wrestler. He was an all-around performer. The dude could be maniacal and talagang deranged, but he could also
comedy,
be silly
diba?
and funny. Diba? I don't know if Gable Stevenson is any of those things just yet. So, it remains to be seen pa yung vibes.
Tsaka he didn't win a gold medal with a broken freaking neck. So, yun pa yun.
Well, we don't want him to be Perk Angle din naman. So, there's that. But yeah, congrats to all the guys involved in NXT Underground. I thought it was fun for what it was. And I believe one of us at least will talk about it again come Monday sa Pick of the Week natin. All right?
Yep.
In the meantime, we're going to send it back to the main recording from the live stream. All right. If we got nothing else, then this is, well, for you listening to the audio-only part, then this is the part where the audio-only discussions come in. But for the rest of you, you can catch that on the Spotify version when this goes up tomorrow. Thanks to our babyface producers at Podcast Network Asia. Next week, we've got our usuals, yung Pick of the Week, audio-only episode, and we have another live stream. We hope everybody's back by then. Do you have any plugs that you want to get out there? Let's start with you, Emile.
Wala naman. Just follow me on all my socials, on Twitter, on Threads, and on Instagram. Same handle, EML_Meister.
All right. Ikaw, Chino, I know you got a big show that you're going to be a part of soon.
Yes, a very big show.
Yeah.
Like, listen, I'm not even on this show, but I need to promote it because it's such a big deal. Rex Navarrete is coming back to Manila after 5 long years. You've seen him on yung mga Marites and the Super Friends, if you caught that. Yung HBC Packers. He's the original. SBC Packers. He's the original Pinoy stand-up comedian. Way before your Joe Coys of the world, your JR De Guzmans of the world. There was Rex Navarrete, and he's coming back for one night only, July 22, Saturday, Music Museum. For tickets, you can head over to comedymanila.ph/shows. Yun lang yung gusto ko i-promote. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Chino. For me, just want to plug MWF. You still have a few days to get your tickets over on tickettome.net. MWF Action Novela TV, Gigil at Romansa, happening on Sunday, 4 p.m. at the QC Memorial Circle covered court. So we're super excited because we have a lot of matches and a lot of episodes that we're building for you guys para mapanood nyo as we get to Road to Fate, which is the next big MWF show at, I believe it'll be at Power Max Center Spotlight. So go catch Gigil at Romansa this Sunday. There will be new Oro Plata Mata merch that you could get there as well if you want to support this new faction, this new group and idea that we believe in and that we're building. Go check it out this Sunday. And yes, as Admin Angela points out, these episodes that we are gonna tape over the weekend, these will be the debut episodes of MWF on Rock on Manila TV, or Rock of Manila TV, which is the network, the former RJ TV. So that's about to launch very soon. So congrats to MWF on this huge venture. All right, we got to get out of here. Thank you very much to everybody who joined us on the stream, all of our subscribers, our listeners, our followers. Don't forget to leave a comment on at Wrestling2XPod on TikTok and on Twitter. And if you haven't yet, give us that sweet 5-star rating on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you very much to babyface producer Jasper at the controls, best babyface producer ever. And thank you to all the other best babyface producers over at Podcast Network Asia for all of the work that they do behind the scenes. On behalf of Chino Liao and Emile ASH, my name is Stan C, saying thank you very much. This has been another episode of the Wrestling Podcast. Stay safe, stay healthy, and don't be a dick. Wrestling Podcast out. Bye-bye.
The views and opinions expressed by the podcast creators, hosts, and guests do not necessarily reflect the official policy and position of Podcast Network Asia, the hosts of the program, or other programs of the network. Any content provided by the people on the podcast are of their own opinion and are not intended to malign any religion, ethnic group, club, organization,